I don't see myself wearing this. Oh wow, that is fresh. Got a man who's very much into his coffee fragrances. Welcome back guys to another video. In today's video I'm featuring sophisticated classy fragrances for men. I was meant to do this not too long ago, but then I just got caught up with a few other video ideas, so I really hope that you guys enjoy. This is leaning more onto the mature style of fragrances, so if you're not into that, I would not want to watch this video if I were you, but if you do like maybe a little bit more of a mature, sophisticated type of fragrance, then I think you'd really enjoy this. I have split it in a bit of a different way. So the first half will be more aimed towards the daytime wear, a little bit fresher, more citrusy, aquatic, and then towards the end I'm going to lean into more ambrier, warmer type of fragrances. So the first fragrance that I have is from Ormonde. Of course, you guys know me, I absolutely adore Ormonde, and to be fair I could have picked Ormonde Man, which I would actually say is a little bit more mature leaning than this one, but I just thought just the combination of different notes, and for anyone who is into fresher fragrances, then I think you'd really enjoy this. I did buy it for my boyfriend's birthday and he absolutely loves it. I thought he would because he's very much into his citruses, aquatic type of fragrances. That is definitely his more olfactive type of group. So this is Verano, and as you guys can see the bottle is absolutely stunning, and it is a predominantly grapefruit heavy type of fragrance. So it's very heavy in the citruses in the top, but what I would say is soon that does dissipate and then you're left with more of a tobacco suede type of undertone. The tobacco in here, like what I've described in the past, isn't like a wet tobacco. It's not dark, it's not dingy. To me this is almost like an ashy, as if somebody who has just had a cigarette type of tobacco note, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, by the way. Quite fresh. It has some isoe super, some other synthetic compounds in here, and that is what makes it smell super fresh, almost as if you've just walked into like a beautiful mountain resort, if that makes any sense. And the way that I can describe the type of man wearing this is somebody who definitely enjoys skiing, because it almost has like an icy freshness to it, which tends to be quite complicated, like getting that across in a fragrance, but you definitely have it within this one. And what I love is that the grapefruit carries on towards the end. So it's not a type of fragrance where the citruses just dissipate straight away. You definitely still get a bit of that grapefruity type of vibe even towards the end of the fragrance. The only thing that I would say, which is a little bit disappointing, and I've mentioned this before, it does lean to become a little bit more of a skin scent as opposed to a really loud projecting type of fragrance, and it's not a bad thing, by the way. I just thought I'd pre-warn you guys that if you are into more, say, longer lasting or projecting type of fragrances, this one will not be for you. But anyway, if you do enjoy that style of fragrance, I would 100% recommend that you try. I was really cheeky. I even used my own discount code for this one. So if you want to save yourself a little bit of money and if you want to try it out, definitely try Verano from Ormonde. So the next fragrance that I have here is Oud Bleue from Hermes. This is part of the Merveilles type of collection. They have all sorts within this. Typically they lean quite ambery and woody, whereas this one leans a little bit more marine, a little bit more citrusy. So this is a really classy fragrance, especially for somebody who likes more marine, aquatic leaning fragrances. In the note, it doesn't list any citruses, but on my nose, I definitely get like a little bit of a bergamonty type of opening. My partner absolutely adores this fragrance, and with it being an eau de toilette, it does last ages as well, which is always a good thing, and you can get it for a reasonably affordable price. So this is definitely a little bit more aquatic leaning, so I'll spray it here. Yeah, so definitely in the top. I don't know why they don't list it, but to me, I get like a bergamot neroli, very fresh white floral type of opening, and then soon it does go into the marine notes, but it's not like an overly salty marine. It's more of an ozonic, watery type of essence that you have here, alongside a slight saltiness, but it's not too overwhelming. So towards the base, what's really lovely is you do have some woody nuances as well as some patchouli, and the patchouli in here, thank goodness, it doesn't go into that really weird mossy type of patchouli. It's quite dry. It just adds like a little bit of a herbaceous vibe towards the end, but nothing too crazy, and it just anchors the fragrance overall. So it's a very well balanced, aquatic, fresher type of fragrance. It's super sophisticated. any man can pull this off, especially fresh out the shower. I would 100% see this happening. And the way I would imagine a gentleman wearing this is maybe going out sailing, somebody who likes being on a yacht, a little bit more of a seafronty type of individual. So if you are into that, then I would try Eau de Merveilles Bleue from Hermes. Now leaning onto, I guess, like a half day, half evening type of wear fragrance, I have Irish Leather from Memo Paris. And I actually got this when, well, I've known about it for many years and I've tried and tested it for many years. I've never actually bought the bottle because obviously I'm a lady. I don't see myself wearing this, but I do see a lot of gents wearing this particular fragrance. And when they sent me the advent calendar, my partner was wearing it, and as you can see, he's completely gone through it. I would say it's definitely been successful in that regard. So Irish Leather to me is a very typical aromatic type of fragrance. It has a lot of juniper berries, and that is when it goes into slightly woodier, foresty type of feel. So if you're not into that, I would definitely not recommend. This is a very mossy, foresty feel to this fragrance, and I know a lot of gents do actually prefer that. So if you do prefer something a bit greener, a little bit more foresty, then I definitely think that you'd enjoy this. And the leather in here does tend to go a little bit darker, so it's not so much of a suede, but maybe it's more of like a calf skin type of leather note that you have. It's richer, darker, denser, and I think that combination between the very green notes with the juniper berries, etc., and then leaning into that darker leathery type of base, I think it's a really beautiful combination. And to me, this smells very masculine. As I said, I don't really see myself ever pulling this off. Maybe I should give it a try, but if you are into your more aromatic fragrances, then I definitely think this is a beautiful one, and you can get it for a reasonable discount. I think in the UK, All Beauty are doing a sale at the moment. It's about £120. I would say it leans quite mature with it being on the foresty side, so please, gents, give this a go beforehand. So from Memo Paris, we have Irish Leather. Oof, we're going to have quite a few to go through today. So the next fragrance that I have is from Annick Goutal. They have amazing fragrances, by the way. They've been around since, I think, the 1980s. They're a really beautiful house. I don't know whether to class them as designer. I think I've spoken about this before because they are in mostly department stores, but I guess they kind of only really are in a niche of fragrances and beauty, so I guess so. Anyway, this one is called Eau de Monsieur, and this is a really sophisticated, mature fragrance, and my god, this is class in a bottle. This is a really beautiful fragrance. So if you've ever been into more citrus, fougere leaning type of fragrances, then I think you'd really enjoy this. Oh wow, that is fresh. God, you 100% get this really minty, almost leaning like lemony type of opening, but it's not a bad thing at all. It's almost like you've had a mint cooler in any type of way, like a mojito, but without it being overly sweet. And then towards the base, that's when you get this almost aromatic, slightly sweet type of base, whether that might have some juniper berry in it, even some lavender, to make it smell a little bit more on the herbaceous side. It's a really beautiful fragrance. And on top of all of it, the reason why I say it leans to me a slightly fougere type of fragrance is it has a big note of geranium. And typically geranium to me smells almost similar to rose, but more sweet, also quite soapy as well. So this is definitely fresh out the shower. And I guess the person that I would envision wearing this type of fragrance maybe goes to the leisure center quite often. I know that sounds really bizarre, but maybe goes swimming, maybe likes going to the sauna, something a little bit more spa-like. So again, if you do enjoy something a bit fresher, then definitely try Eau de Monsieur from Annick Goutal. Now looking at something that is technically more unisex leaning, I do wear this myself, but I know a lot of gents definitely love wearing this fragrance. In fact, all of the Oud Cartier line is absolutely unisex through and through. I think both men and women can wear this. So far I think it's been very heavily masculine leaning, whereas this one is more unisex. And when we come to sophisticated, classy fragrances, there is nothing better than this. The quality in here is just unmatched, with it being technically a designer brand. Yes, I know it's a luxury designer type of exclusive range, but you can definitely tell there's been a lot of love and creativity into this particular fragrance, and it's super subtle. It's subtle yet sexy. So this is Oud Santal from Cartier. This is from Mathilde Laurent, and my god, this is just heaven in a bottle. If you are into more sweeter, slightly softer, woodier type of fragrances, I would definitely recommend wearing this. This is predominantly like a chestnutty sandalwood fragrance. Apparently it has some plum accord in here, and I definitely get that. In the top, it almost goes into this plum cognac-y liqueur type of opening, and then towards the base, that's when the real player shines in here, and that is the sandalwood. And sandalwood for me goes in many different directions. To me, in this fragrance, it goes pencil shavings. It's quite rich, but it's also quite soft at the same time. This is definitely a really subtle fragrance. As I mentioned, it's not a loud fragrance whatsoever, but that subtlety is what makes it so sophisticated and classy. I think if you wear this, you will garner yourself compliments when people come close to you, and I've just absolutely love it. I do tend to not overspray it because I'm trying to keep it for as long as I can, and eventually I would like to also buy Oud Radio and Oud and Amber from the same line. So if you've ever been curious, I definitely would recommend giving this one a go. I am trying to go through this as quickly as possible. So the next fragrance that I have is leaning more into the darker realm. So this is when we are going into the ambers, the tobaccos, the boozy fragrances. This is one that I absolutely love. It is leaning a bit more mature, oud, boozy, very warm and sweet type of fragrance. So this is Arezzo from Naughton and Wilson. This is Dan's fragrance. I say it in one of my last videos, but oh my god, the amount of flack that I got when I first showed this fragrance, it was actually really eye-opening, because typically I don't really involve myself in that type of community. But it was just really interesting, because whenever an influencer, quote-unquote influencer, or a creator that is into fragrances launches a fragrance, I think in most cases they get a lot of flack, which is a little bit of a shame, because I genuinely think that this is quite a good fragrance. As I said, it's pretty obnoxious with it being quite loud in the boozy aspect of it. To me, this goes quite cognac-y, brandy almost. It's a very sweet, dark, rich, sophisticated fragrance. I could imagine, this sounds really bizarre, but if you've just been into like a gentleman's club, obviously you would maybe smoke a cigar there, and then as you are in this gentleman's club, maybe you're drinking a brandy at the same time. That is what I'm imagining with this particular fragrance. It also has Cambodian oud from memory, so it does have quite a woody essence towards the base. I would recommend, I don't know whether he does do samples, but if you can get yourself a sample of it, definitely give it a go. I'd be happy, by the way, if anybody wants a sample, because I'm not wearing it that regularly, and my partner, he does tend to like more citrus aquatic leaning fragrances, so this isn't really for him. So if anyone is interested in trying it before buying it, I'm happy to send you a sample of this if need be. So that is Arezzo from Naughton and Wilson. Again, now moving on to maybe a little bit more of a unisex type of fragrance, we have Soir from Maison Kurkdjian. Now, it's really interesting, because some guys say to me that they definitely think this is more masculine leaning. To me, this leans both masculine and feminine, to be fair. This is a really beautiful amber fragrance, but this is amber done, I think, in the right way. A lot of amber fragrances, they can have different nuances. Typically, it's an accord that's made from vanilla, benzoin, labdanum, all sorts of different notes, and this one is definitely leaning more almost gooey but also powdery at the same time. What's really interesting about this particular fragrance, opens up with quite an orange bitter note, almost as if you have orange bitters, you know, when you're adding it in a cocktail. That is what I'm envisioning with this particular fragrance. And then towards the base, what's really beautiful is you have a note of tonka, and that softens up the fragrance. So with it not being a super harsh ambery fragrance, you know, sometimes going into that murray resinous way, it does have a little bit of softness in this with the tonka bean. So if you've never tried it before, and if you are into warmer, sweeter, amberier type of fragrances, then I think you'd definitely enjoy this. Last but certainly not least, we have Edition Rare Fidelis from Histoires de Parfums. This is for somebody who does enjoy an oud fragrance, and in fact somebody who enjoys a more gourmand leaning oud fragrance. So this is a really beautiful take on the rose oud combination. Now I know it's been overdone many times. In fact, there's probably more rose oud fragrances that we can count. So if you are into that type of combination, but if you do like something a little bit more unusual, I think you'd really enjoy this. And again, this is a little bit more unisex leaning, with it having raspberry and coffee in it. But I would almost imagine, again, with it having that coffee nuance in here, which is quite prominent, by the way. So if you do enjoy more of a dusty coffee bean type of smell in a fragrance, and I think you'd really enjoy this. I would envision somebody who's definitely a coffee addict wearing this, but somebody who almost likes Arabic coffee as opposed to anything else, maybe like a Turkish Arabic type of blend. This is definitely leaning a little bit more woodier with that oud. But what I love about this is that the oud in here isn't animalic, it's not overpowering, it's a very soft, almost resinous leaning type of oud, and on top of that you also have this dusty coffee bean type of blend in here. So it's a really gorgeous fragrance, all sweetened up by this raspberry rosy type of accord going on in here. And I think a man who's very much into his coffee fragrances would absolutely love this. And I've also layered it in the past with other fragrances. I would almost say it leans a little bit more masculine to me, because the oud in here does lean a little bit more smoky as well. So if you are into smokier, richer type of fragrances, then I definitely think that you'd enjoy this. So again, from Histoires de Parfums, we have Edition Rare Fidelis. So gents, that is it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed. As I mentioned, if you did like it, please give it a thumbs up down below. And if you have any sophisticated, mature type of fragrances that you'd recommend, definitely comment it down below, and I will see you later. Bye guys.